Old Tang, which direction is the speed gene base point you have opened? This question made Tang Ting look melancholy. Is it hand speed? Right hand. Su Tue looked bewildered. Hand speed, still right hand. This scene. Didn't the teacher say that the more you use it in certain areas, the easier it is to open up genetic basis points? What did you do with your hands, Old Tang? So, is this the starting point of my stomach genes that I've been eating for 18 years? Cheng Mo, who was about to embark on the path of being a foodie, sighed up to the sky. Su Tui touched his own head and said, "Did I use my brain for 18 years? New seedlings have just emerged, and they need the care of brothers and sisters. They roll around 360 degrees looking for collections and recommendations. Brothers and sisters can also read the old books of Zhu San, the King of Nature, and Holding the Stars, which are all excellent books. They are old and fat." Keywords of the novel. Gene Age without pop-ups. Download the complete text of Gene Age, and read the latest chapters of Gene Age. Chapter 1. Genetics Examination. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 2. Beyond Earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Beyond Earth 2137 is an era of highly developed technology. Compared to the 21st century, the most important changes have two aspects. The first aspect is the genetic technology discovered and studied by humans since the early 19th century, which has undergone several major breakthroughs since the mid-20th century. Every breakthrough has brought tremendous benefits to humanity. Genetic diseases have been basically eliminated. A significant reduction in terminal illness. The number of deadly diseases that threaten human life has sharply decreased from over 400 in the 21st century to 26 in the 22nd century. Well, as long as you have money. For example, the basic physical fitness of humans themselves. The basic human qualities, such as speed, strength, and lifespan, improved solely through reproductive genetics, exceed 10% in the average human sequence. The improvement after taking various genetic drugs is even more astonishing. The second aspect is that the space exploration that countries are passionate about has also achieved results. Nearly 100 years ago, countries in the Mongolian, European, Russian, and Huaya regions successively announced the discovery of extraterrestrial intelligent life and established contact with extraterrestrial intelligent life, and attempted to exchange ideas to a certain extent. The consequence of communication is that individual technological challenges that have plagued humanity have achieved explosive breakthroughs, but the invasion of extraterrestrial intelligent life has also arrived. It's an invasion. Fortunately, there are many vigilant and wise individuals among humanity. The invasion of extraterrestrial intelligent life has been blocked outside of Earth, but it has not ended. The Blue Star Alliance was thus established, and the era of human genes officially began in 2037. And the Genetic Unified Examination was born under this premise. Human beings who have been genetically enhanced will experience significant improvements in all aspects, even qualitative changes. The gene warriors on the extraterrestrial battlefield shine brightly. Many times, a powerful gene warrior can determine the outcome of a battle and change the course of a battle. Human beings, who have been genetically enhanced, are better at conducting research and have a faster pace of specialized production. Even for pilots, whether they are fighter jets or spacecraft, their driving standards will be higher and faster, and they will bear greater driving intensity. The era of genes has arrived. Over the past century of research and continuous adjustment, humans have gained a deeper understanding of their own exploration and the fusion of genetic drugs. Only then did Su Tui face the Genetic Unified Examination now. As the old class said, the college entrance examination score is just an admission ticket, more of a motivation and potential exploitation for students. Effort and hard work will make your genes better. After the college entrance examination, students who pass the genetic admission line will receive a D.level or C.level gene compound chain allelic drug, which is a scientific name, depending on their grades. The common name is also known as gene liberation drug. According to the official knowledge obtained by Su Chiu, the human genome has a natural stable chain, which has a great degree of stability. Enhancement, mutation, and evolution all require a massive amount of time to slowly evolve. However, gene-complex chain allelic drugs can relieve this stability on a safe basis, and then strengthen, mutate, and even evolve existing genes in a short period of time through various means. The humans who take this gene-complex chain allelic drug are called gene liberators. It is worth mentioning that gene-complex chain allelic drugs, also known as gene liberation drugs, have varying levels from E to A, and there is a huge difference in their efficacy. E. level is the worst, A. level is the best. However, A. grade and B. grade gene liberation drugs are very rare, and it is said that only the military and genetic research institutes have channels internally, with very strict management. The most widely circulated drugs on the market are E. grade gene liberation drugs, as well as D. grade and C. grade gene liberation drugs. But the price is very beautiful. There are two differences between E. level, D. level, and C. level gene liberation drugs, one of which is the genome collapse rate. The second is the basis for gene liberation. There is a 5,000th chance of the human genome collapsing when taking E. level gene liberation drugs. The consequence of genome collapse is immediate death, and any rescue measures are useless. The genome collapse rate of D. grade gene liberation drugs is 2/1000, while that of C. grade drugs is 1/1000. Among grade E to A drugs, grade C gene liberation drugs have the lowest mortality rate. This is a bit like gambling, the probability is not too high, as long as luck is not too bad, one can become a gene liberator. But the second gap is not something that luck can make up for, but rather a gap that cannot be filled in almost a lifetime. In the sunset, Su Tui turned around and glanced at Jincheng No. 9 Middle School, which most students called Purgatory, and squeezed into the maglev bus to go home. Thanks to the advancement of technology, maglev technology, which was expensive and heavily restricted a century ago, has rapidly developed and now has become a powerful tool to alleviate urban congestion. More than half an hour later, as soon as Su Gui left the elevator, he heard a sound at his doorstep. The voices of Aunt Ma and Dad Su Jiangwo downstairs. "Hey, Lao Su, what is the score of your child's college entrance exam?" "My child didn't do well in the exam, but fortunately he passed the genetic admission line." Dad Su Jiangwo has a very humble personality. As soon as Su Tui arrived at the door, he heard this voice. "I won't mention it, my child didn't do very well in the exam either." "You didn't do well in the exam? How many points did you get?" Aunt Ma asked. "Anyway, it's just not possible." Dad shook his head and was about to close the door. Aunt Ma became anxious and grabbed the door, asking, "Even if you don't do well in the exam, you still have to get a score. How many points exactly?" "The progress has come back." Su Tui's father saw Su Tui and greeted him. "Well, progress is a nickname for Su Hui." "Hey, has progress come back?" Aunt Ma quickly reached out to Su and said, "Your dad said you didn't do well in the exam. How many points did you get on the exam? Can't it be that you haven't passed the genetic admission line? My kid at home is hanging high." Fortunately, he passed the genetic admission line. Su Tui avoided and didn't argue for the time being, looking towards his father. "According to my dad, neighborhood relationships are also very important." Suddenly, a hand reached out from the crack in the door and twisted Su Tui's ear, pulling towards the room while cursing. "You stinky kid, you only got 604 points on the exam and almost couldn't pass the double excellence line. How do I teach you, your mother?" "Mom, it hurts, be gentle." As Su Tui was pulled back into the room by the old lady, Aunt Ma downstairs' face froze instantly and she was stunned on the spot. Goodbye, Sister Ma. I'll start cooking." Dad smiled awkwardly and closed the door. Outside the door, Aunt Ma was taken aback and took a light sip. "Humph, didn't you just cross the double excellence line? What's the show?" Inside the door, the old lady glared at her father with her hands crossed over her waist and said, "I always want to give people some face. The score for my family's progress was obtained through serious exams, not cheating. There's nothing I dare not say." Isn't that because she's afraid of not looking good on her face? If she doesn't look good on her face, then on your face. "Mom, I'll go take a shower first." As the daily nagging battle was about to begin, Su Tui quickly took a bath to avoid any harm to the fish in the pond. "There's food in the pot, I'll go see the dishes." The seasoned father also chose to cook and escape at the first opportunity. There was only one dish of braised pork belly, one dish of fried oatmeal, and a bowl of hot oil-splashed noodles with rich fragrance. 3 boiled eggs were placed in Su Hui's bowl, dipped in a little oil-splashed red chili peppers, making Su Hui's mouth water. That is for Su Tui to supplement his physical energy consumption. "Let's eat." A burst of purring, Su Tui wiped the oily corners of his mouth and rubbed his stomach with satisfaction. "Dad, this is the accident liability consent form and accident insurance policy that will be used when taking the gene liberation medication tomorrow. You need to sign and print them, and submit them tomorrow." Su Tui took out a piece of paper. Dad didn't read the content, just glanced at his mother Zhang Xiuli with an equally serious expression, and then turned to Su Tui. "Progress, you have crossed the double advantage line, but tomorrow's gene liberation drug still has a mortality rate of 1,000th, and in fact, the mortality rate is even higher than this. Are you afraid?" Su Tui nodded first, then shook his head. Last year, there were 230,000 students in Jincheng Prefecture who took gene liberation drugs offline, and over 400 of them experienced genome collapse on the spot during the use. Everyone feels that misfortune will not fall on themselves, but when misfortune comes, everything is too late. Progress, if you are afraid, or don't want, or have some fear, then just speak up. I can refuse to sign this accidental liability consent form. Although our future development may be limited, as a family of 3, there will be no problem with food and clothing. As he spoke, his father Su Jiangwo pushed the accident liability consent letter handed over by Su Tui back to him, but ignored the insurance policy. "Progress, your future, you decide. Although my father's family status fluctuates, when it comes to serious matters, my mother Zhang Xiuli is very quiet and never interjects much." Su Tui looked at the accident responsibility agreement in front of him and suddenly looked out the window. "Dad, it said on TV that extraterrestrial intelligent life has been invading for almost 100 years. I want to go see what they really look like." Taking a light breath, Su Tui, who had made a decision, pushed the accident responsibility agreement back to his father Su Jiangwo. "Dad, if there's a chance, outside of Earth, I want to go see it." Mother Zhang Xiuli curled her lips and her eyes were filled with worry. A mortality rate of 1,000th may not seem high, but when it comes to individuals, it is 100% death. As parents, how can one not worry? Dad Su Jiangwo glanced at his wife and then at his son Su Tui. He picked up his signature pen, brushed it, and signed his name on the accident liability agreement. He also took his wife's finger and pressed the fingerprints together. Dad suddenly stood up and solemnly handed the confirmation of accident responsibility to Su Tui with both hands. "Su Chiu, from today on, your future is up to you to decide. But you must always remember one thing. In the eyes of parents, as long as you are safe, healthy, and lively, that is the best." Su Tui nodded vigorously. Mother Zhang Xiuli cried before speaking. "Mom, don't worry, I'm on the double excellence line, using not only a C-level gene liberation drug with lower mortality rates, but also a bottle of gene activation stabilizing drug that can reduce mortality rates by half. My mortality rate may only be 0.5%, is there someone like you who comforts people?" Dad Su Jiangwo widened his eyes as he looked at his wife who was crying even more. Just like a straight man, I'm really worried if you can find a girlfriend in the future. Can we have grandchildren? Dad has extremely rich experience in this situation. As soon as the method of changing the topic was used, her mother Zhang Xiuli immediately stopped crying and turned to planning Su Tui's future. Encourage fertility and progress now. Before you graduate, make sure we have grandchildren. Su retreated and fled. Mom, we trained 3 times today and we're very tired. I'll take an early break first. Zhang Xiuli, the mother of this child, is somewhat unwilling to accept this. Don't forget the evening class, Dad Su Jiangwo reminded. I've been used to it for a long time, Dad. Returning to his small room, Su Hui brushed his teeth and casually flipped through the updates of his friends on his personal communication device for a few minutes, almost all of which were the emotions of his classmates. As soon as 5 minutes arrived, Su Qiu turned off his personal communicator. As a high school student, managing one's time well is very important. Subsequently, Su Tui took off his shoes and went to bed, sitting cross-legged with his eyes slightly closed. He began to inhale and vomit, and his whole body relaxed. In a few minutes, he entered a state of ethereal meditation. This is a meditation evening class that Su Jiangwo's father taught Su Tui since childhood and made him persist. The main reason why Su Tui can persist is that this meditation can help him quickly relax and fall asleep. Especially when I was a child, I was so excited by watching hot-blooded anime that I couldn't sleep, or maybe watching horror movies scared me out of sleep all night. At dawn, I fell asleep, but it's time for school again. That pain is simply this meditation evening class can allow Su Tui to empty his mind in a very short time and enter a deep sleep. And no matter how tired the night before, the next day I can still be 100 times more energetic. After half an hour of meditation, Su Tui leaned slightly and fell asleep on the bed, his legs still sitting cross-legged. After a while, the door gently opened and Zhang Xiuli, the mother, came to Su Tui's bed. She covered Su Tui with a blanket and stared at him for a while before leaving lightly. Big guy passing by, don't forget to collect recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Gene Research Institute, for collection and recommendation. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Gene Research Institute, for collection and recommendation, at 6:30 in the morning. When the light golden sunlight shone through the curtains onto Su Tui's long eyelashes, Su Tui opened his eyes extremely punctually. 3 years of intensive learning and training have made Su Tui's biological clock extremely punctual. Slowly stretched lazily. Refreshing and refreshing. Yesterday's sore limbs have become incredibly lazy today. Full blood resurrection. Su Tui's lazy face exuded a strong aura of heroism and youth. However, this lazy aura quickly dissipated as Su Tui woke up, and was replaced by diligence. Brush your teeth. Gulu finished a large cup of warm water next to the table. This is my mother's order. Su Tui has already become accustomed to obeying. Wash your face. Change clothes. Su Tui quickly devoured the breakfast already prepared by the table. 3 boiled eggs. A large glass of milk. A piece of corn. A large basket of pork and eggplant-filled buns with oily light. A small plate of red and oily chili peppers. That's the sauce on the big bun. This was made by my mother herself. Perhaps it was made by my father himself. Well, it smells great. It's really delicious. In the era of genetics, every student must receive both cultural learning and a certain level of physical training from elementary school. This kind of physical training reaches its peak in high school. It can be seen from using a physical education teacher as a homeroom teacher for 3 years in high school. For most ordinary families, eggs are the best and cheapest source of protein supplementation. Su's family is very ordinary. A community full of life atmosphere, and parents are also ordinary salaried class. This is still the reason why Sue's parents also passed the genetic admission line in the past, which allowed them to have the ordinary life they have now. Mom, I'm full now. I'm going to school. With a nod of understanding, bring the accident liability consent form and accident insurance policy. Su Tuan is about to leave. Mother Zhang Xiuli looked at Su Tui and opened her mouth, but she didn't make a sound. Dad Su Jiangwo waved at Su Tui and said, "Go ahead, remember to call us after you come out of the genetic testing room." The father Su Jiangwo didn't say the 3 words reporting peace, but Su Tui still saw his mother's body tremble. I understand. When I was a child, I didn't know how to handle things. Every time I went out, I was very averse to my parents' advice. However, today, Su Tui felt the heaviness behind the admonition. After Su left the house, Su Jiangwo slowly sat at the dining table and took out a tissue to hand to his wife. In today's world, every child has to go through this experience. Not taking genetic liberation drugs is the disability of this era of genes. Besides, haven't we both gone through this experience? Have we all come over? What's there to worry about? Also, more than 20 years ago, your mood when taking gene liberation drugs was probably even more urgent than progress, right? I never saw you cry back then. Su Jiangwo's words finally made his wife's mood improve. He picked up a tissue and wiped the tears from the corners of his eyes. Aren't I worried about progress? Probability is a probability, but if it falls on an individual, then probability doesn't fall on the head of progress. Su Jiangwo's voice became very strong and firm. The teacher once said that as long as you persist in this meditation for more than 10 years, the probability of taking gene liberation drugs leading to genome collapse will be infinitely close to 0. Upon hearing Su Jiangwo mention her teacher, Zhang Xiuli's expression noticeably calmed down. Obviously, he has great trust in the teacher mentioned by Su Jiangwo. But that side effect? No, but Su Jiangwo is very firm. Besides, there are very few tracking objects on the teacher's end, and the statistical results have little reference value. Su Tui was unaware that after he left home, his parents were worried about his future. Stepping into school, there are all classmates with hopeful and excited faces. After taking the gene liberation potion today, many students will transform into genetic superheroes. Every student, including Su Qiu, hopes to become a genetic superhero. A wind-like speed. Or it could be a steel giant. Or it could be a stunning sight like a falcon. Even legendary extraordinary abilities. Of course, almost all students either walk stiffly or limp. Cheng Mo was even more exaggerated, jumping like a frog as he rushed into the school. Today, we will gather directly at the 4th training ground. Old class Yuzepping has been waiting for students on the training ground for a long time. Collect and review accident liability consent forms and accident insurance policies one by one. The mortality rate of the genetic test that will be conducted in a few hours is not a joke. When it was Su Tui's turn, there was no problem with the consent form and insurance policy, but old man Yuzepping frowned as he looked at Su Tui's normal and no longer normal walking posture. It seems that triple the training amount yesterday is not enough for you. Go ahead, before the others start, double the training amount. Su Tui's face, full of heroic energy, turned green in an instant. Teacher, I was naive to the limit yesterday. Su Tui tried hard to make a limp look. Pop. The thin whip in the old class's hand exploded, pointing towards Su Tui in the distance. Do you think I will believe it? Su Tui opened his mouth and walked helplessly towards the training ground. Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and others frowned and winked at Su Tui, overjoyed. They are familiar with the situation of Su's withdrawal. No matter how many dead dogs he practiced the day before, Su Tui will definitely thrive the next day. However, today was a miserable day. Su Tui walked onto the training ground with extreme helplessness. Before leaving, he shouted, "Old class, Cheng Mo and a few others may be pretending. Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and others changed their faces greatly. Old Ban Yuzeping had already walked up to them with a whip, his thin whip tip lightly jumping. "If you're pretending, just pull it out and let's know." Old class Yuzeping called extreme training of squeezing is not empty today. Yesterday's 3 daily training sessions pushed many students to their limits. Not long after the start of daily training this morning, many students cried uncontrollably on the spot. However, they will only be allowed to leave after the school doctor holding a life detection device on the training ground confirms that they have reached their physiological limit. Su Tue was the last one to leave the 4th training ground. Other students only need 1 or 2 rounds of daily training, and the life monitor shows that their muscle strength and heart load have reached their limits, so they can prepare for the next task. But Su retreated here and conducted 4.5 groups. The old class was very surprised. "I haven't seen Su Xiu's exceptional talent during regular training. Su Tue is very forced." He knew that it was the daily meditation evening classes that caused him to recover quickly. After extreme training, all students will wash up at school, verify their electronic identity information, and then take a bus to the location of the genetic testing. The genetic testing site is divided into 2 locations. One is the examination room located at Jincheng University of Gene Evolution. We provide D.level gene complex chain allelic drugs here. Students who have passed the genetic admission line in the college entrance examination but are still below the genetic excellence line are taking the genetic unified examination here. The second is located in the Jincheng branch of Jincheng Gene Research Institute. Here we provide C.level gene recombination chain allelic agents and gene activation stabilizing agents. Students who have passed the first priority line in the college entrance examination are taking the genetic test here. Whether it's D.grade or C.grade gene liberation drugs, or gene activation stabilizing drugs, they are all very precious, and their value is even more astonishing in such a large quantity. 3 days ago, 2 examination centers began to be taken over by the military. When the examination team entered the 10-kilometer range of 2 examination points, various unmanned technology equipment began to escort and inspect. In front of the Jincheng branch of the Genetic Research Institute, Su Tue, Cheng Mo, Tang Ting and others got off the car one by one to undergo examination. In addition to Su Tue and Cheng Mo passing the double priority line, there are also 6 first priority lines in Class 7 of Grade 3 led by Yuzeping, with a total of 4 males and 4 females. Fingerprints. Iris. Electronic ID card. Facial recognition. After the integration of the 4 items and the signature confirmation of the team leader, Su Qiu and others were allowed to enter the security checkpoint of the Jincheng branch of the Genetic Research Institute. This is the highest standard security checkpoint that Su Tue has ever seen. There are as many as 11 types of security inspection instruments alone. Outside the passage, various unmanned technological devices can be vaguely seen constantly passing through, as well as fierce soldiers with live ammunition, all indicating the importance of this genetic unified examination. At the end of the passage is a spacious hall that can accommodate hundreds of people in an orderly manner. On one side of the hall are 40 enclosed rooms, each with a student ID displayed in front of them. Students who call their ID will enter the room. On the other side of the hall is a hall marked with functions, where students who have finished taking medication constantly come out of the room and enter these function halls. The functional hall is divided into 2 categories. Extreme Series Testing Hall and Mysterious Series Testing Hall. Extreme systems produce superhumans. Su Tue and others have already learned these basic knowledge. What attracted the most attention of Su Tue and others was the row of rooms in different colors to the north. That is the Gene Mystery Testing Hall. Only mysterious systems can produce extraordinary abilities. There are also very few students coming and going, almost none. Anyway, from the arrival of the hall until now, Su Tue has not seen anyone walk towards the mysterious testing hall. At this moment, the door of the extraordinary testing hall on the other side of the mysterious testing hall suddenly opened. A short boy with a silly smile walked out of the hall and burst into laughter. When the short boy's team leader welcomed him, he excitedly waved his arms. Extraordinary. Teacher, I am a fire-type extraordinary. Before the words could be finished, there was a loud explosion sound. The short boy's whole body burst out with fireworks. In the fireworks, the short boy's hair and eyebrows started to spontaneously ignite and smoke, followed by his clothes and shoes. Side effects. The teacher in charge of the team also reacted quickly and immediately turned around to rush towards the fire extinguisher. However, there are security personnel who react faster. Almost as soon as the fireworks rose, the foam of the fire extinguisher greeted the short boy and covered him instantly. Just before the short boy's fireworks were extinguished, he fainted on his own. Send to refrigerated room number 9, set the room temperature to 5 degrees. Subcutaneous injection of AD.grade recovery medication. A White Coat Research Institute appeared at the entrance of the extraordinary testing hall and issued a series of disposal plans with an expressionless expression, obviously seeing too many. Well, it's a bit like a doctor's order. Old Ban Yuzeping's eyes lit up sharply. D.level recovery potion. This kid is lucky. Not only has he activated extraordinary genes, but he can also use D.level recovery potions. The genetic basis for his liberation should be between 8 and 10. The side effects are also minimal to the naked eye, just an overflow of power or inability to control power. Not bad, very good. If only you had good luck with this kid. There's one, I'm worth it. Old Ban Yuzeping looked at Su Tui, Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and others and said. Old Ban, this kid's hair and eyebrows were all burned just now. Did you think he got burned? Cheng Mo nodded at Tang Ting. That's roasted bird. Barbecue. Tang Ting instinctively shrugged his throat in the tonnage of 100 kilograms, and then bent back slightly. Because he was surprised to see the extraordinary for the first time, Su Tui instinctively spoke up. Barbecue. Isn't it the favorite food of the old class? Old Ban Yuzeping's face, with a smile on his lips, turned green instantly. Just about to get angry and deal with these three little brats. The names of Su Tui and Cheng Mo sounded simultaneously. The first 3 chapters were released, and during the new book period, there were 2 daily updates. Most of them were major chapters, and Zhu San habitually wrote about 3,000 words per chapter. For those who find it too thin, you can read Zhu San's old books, The King of Creation, and The Star in Hand, both of which are high-quality works with tens of thousands of orders. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Is not about penetrating vision. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 is not about penetrating vision. Student ID J61221912140711, Student Cheng Mo, please go to room 4. Student ID J61222007210017 is allowed to withdraw. Please go to room 5. Su Tui, Cheng Mo, and Lao Ban Yuzeping stood up in an instant. To Su's surprise, the old class seemed even more nervous than the 2 of them at this moment. Go in and listen to the teacher inside. It'll be out in a few minutes. Don't daydream. Don't be nervous. Relax. The mortality rate will not fall on you. The first few sentences still touched me a bit. The last sentence, Su Tui and Cheng Mo lie down at the same time. Old class, can you do pre-war mobilization? I wasn't nervous originally. When you mention the mortality rate, it makes Cheng Mo and Su Tui a little nervous. Under the urging of electronic horn calls, Su Tui and Cheng Mo stepped into rooms 5 and 4 respectively. Before entering the door, Cheng Mo even took some time to turn around and wave his fist at Su Tui. Come on. Come on. Su stepped into room 5, and the door behind him automatically closed and locked. Two staff members caught the eye. One is a security guard wearing camouflage military uniform, standing in the far corner of the room. Another female researcher, wearing a white coat and a mask, is quite tall and has a tall ponytail. The ceiling and ground surveillance cameras can ensure that the testing process is recorded 360 degrees without blind spots. Start authentication. After about 3 seconds, the electronic machine sound will start. Fingerprint similarity is 99.7%, iris similarity is 99.5%, and identity verification passed. I ask, you answer, the female researcher said. Su Tui nodded. Name. Su Hui. Gender. This question made Su Tui want to make a joke, but after thinking about the old class's advice, he still answered honestly. Male. Do you have a history of injection of gene complex chain allelic drugs? No. Do you have a history of gene activation stabilizing drug injections? No. These contents have actually been filled out before, but now it's time to come back again. This is the process. Go to bed and take off your pants. Su Tui was shocked. Su Tui has long heard from his seniors about lying in bed. There are many strategies. But what's going on when I take off my pants? I have never heard senior students mention it before. The injection of gene activation stabilizing agents from the femoral artery has the shortest onset time and the best effect, the female researcher added. Su Tui was relieved. I took off my sports shorts and climbed onto the medical bed. A slightly icy finger pressed on Su Tui's groin position, but he hadn't waited for Su Tui to react yet. Pie. Su Tui gently cracked his mouth in pain. The muscles all over the body immediately tightened. This is like puncturing an artery. Just came straight away. Relax. The needle needs to break inside, you need to have your own surgery to solve it. Su Tui slowly exhaled and relaxed all over. The gene activation stabilizing agent is slowly pushed into Su Gui's body. Another needle inserted directly into Su Tui's brachial vein. Before intravenous injection, 30 milliliters of gene comparison blood sample were collected. The female researcher's voice was very mechanical, but such prompts were still very thoughtful, making Su Tui understand very well and not very nervous anymore. Gene activation stabilizing agent injection completed. 2 minutes later, intramuscular injection of C.grade gene complex chain allelic agent. Take a deep breath. Relax, the injection of the C.level gene complex chain allele has been completed. Entering the clinical observation period. Timing begins. Su Chio, if there are any abnormalities, please let me know immediately. Okay, teacher. There are currently no abnormalities. No abnormalities. The female researcher raised her eyebrows and after injecting a gene liberation drug, there were no abnormalities, which was not a good appearance. If there are abnormalities, it indicates that a certain number of genetic bases have been liberated. The greater the abnormal reaction, the more genetic basis points for liberation, and the greater the potential for future improvement. Of course, if the abnormal reaction is extreme, it can lead to the immediate collapse of the genome. The ultimate result is death. However, in most cases, the probability of genome collapse in students becomes very, very low after injection of gene activation stabilizers. This is also the reason why students who have passed the double excellence line in the Genetic Unified Examination will receive a bottle of gene activation stabilizing drugs. To some extent, it is also a kind of preferential treatment for students who work hard and strive to achieve excellent results. Student Su retreated, have you had any abnormal physical reactions? The female researcher spoke again. No. Su Tui is aware of the basic reactions to taking gene liberation drugs. Abnormal reactions indicate the liberation or activation of genetic basis points. Absent Su Tue suddenly became nervous. Isn't it just waste without that? He still wants to go and see beyond the earth. At that moment, Su Tue was extremely eager for the appearance of abnormal bodily reactions. Student Su retreated. Do you have any abnormal reactions in your body? The female researcher asked again at the 5-minute mark. No. 10 minutes later. Student Su withdrew. Have you had any abnormal physical reactions? No, no, no. Su Tue was really nervous, with a slight tremolo in his voice. Don't be nervous, relax, it's still early, the female researcher comforted softly. 20 minutes later. Student Su retreated. Have you had any abnormal physical reactions? The female researcher asked again. No. Su Tue is a bit panicked. Very panicked. He has read countless articles about the physical reactions of senior students after taking gene liberation drugs. Having leg cramps. There is itching in the hands. I have ear pain. There is swelling in the eyes. I have a mouth ache. There are also those with hallucinations. More extreme longing for a girlfriend. Before entering, I imagined that my body might have abnormal reactions. But this is simply amazing. I didn't have any abnormal reactions myself. If there is no response, it means that the gene liberation drug is ineffective. That is to say, Su Tue is highly likely to have a rare genetic stable constitution in humans. Also known as a waste constitution. Su Tue's palpitated desire was overwhelming. 30 minutes later, the female researcher asked Su Chiu again, but the answer was still no. This time, even the security personnel from the military on the side showed a look of regret in their eyes. Students who can pass the double excellent line in the college entrance examination are not inferior in terms of self-discipline and learning ability, but they have a useless physique. Unfortunately. The female researcher also let out a light sigh. The student in front of us has a high probability of having a strong genetic chain and a stable physique, which is over 90%. The maximum clinical observation time has arrived. We have not found any abnormal reactions from student Su Tue yet. The direction of liberating genes is unknown. Extract venous blood samples again and compare the blood samples before and after injection of gene liberation drugs. Each operation will be reported by the female researcher, which should be recorded electronically through a camera for easy access when needed. Alright, you can get out of bed now, said the female researcher. Su Tue, lying on the medical bed, remembered getting out of bed, but his whole body was weak and unable to exert any strength. The female researcher extended her cold fingers and gently pulled Su Tue up from the bed. Lifting Su Tue, who is 1.8 meters tall and weighs over 70 kilograms, the female researcher surprisingly found it very easy, as if she had not used any strength. Su Tue, who was lost in thought, was suddenly pulled up. Before his disappointment could dissipate, Su Tue's eyes suddenly turned black, and an inexplicable pain hit him. The excruciating pain in my brain. Ah! Su Tue covered his head with both hands and let out a scream full of pain. In pain, Su Tue felt his hands wet. The female researcher looked surprised. At the first moment, Su Tueping was placed on the bed, and then a large life monitoring device was pushed over. The red and green light began to flicker on Su Tue's body, and the electronic sound also sounded. Vital signs are stable. The brain fluctuates normally. The electronic sound made the female researcher's eyebrows furrow slightly. Although she has seen a lot, she still doesn't want the sunny and handsome big boy in front of her to have a useless physique. The abnormal reaction of Su Tue just now may be that Su Tue has liberated the genetic basis. But this precise life detector says there are no abnormalities. Of course, this life detector only detects the vital index. The student is allowed to withdraw. If possible, please report your physical reaction. Report. Teacher, I have a headache. I just felt like my headache was about to explode. Does this hurt? This will. It doesn't seem to hurt anymore, just for a moment. Report other abnormal reactions together. My eyes are a little swollen, and my ears are also a little painful. This abnormal reaction relieved Su Tue a bit. At least we have a reaction, haven't we? Eye swelling and ear pain are likely the genetic basis for liberating hearing and vision-related genes. Su Tue, who had a big heart, suddenly thought of it. Beyond line of sight. Or dynamic vision. Or is it ultrasound capability? If penetrating vision, that would be too happy. Su Tue, who was relieved of the pain, instinctively glanced at the tall female researcher in front of him. Unfortunately, the white coat is still a white coat. I didn't see through. Su Tue felt a bit disappointed and lost. At a young age, what do you think? The female researcher seemed to have seen through Su Tue's thoughts and gave him a hard slap, directly causing Su Tue's forehead to bulge visibly with a pigeon egg-sized lump. This is the strength of the hand. Su Tue's teeth, which almost had a concussion, were in excruciating pain. Is this still a woman? Even if you have liberated your genetic foundation in the field of vision, it will not appear in an instant in the manifestation of your own abilities, it will take time. So, it's still possible for me. Su Tue instinctively looked at the female researcher's white coat again. The female researcher's eyebrows rolled over, and Su Tue immediately hugged her head with both hands. Hands are too strong. Let's stick with it for now. Alright, get out of bed now. Across from you is the restroom, and you have 1 minute to clean up the bloodstains on your face. After speaking, the female researcher no longer paid attention to Su's resignation, but instead started making supplementary reports and records on her own. Student Su withdrew. Within 1 minute after the end of the maximum clinical observation period of 30 minutes, severe head pain should occur, lasting no more than 1 second. Mental health is normal. The vital indicators are normal. Slight congestion in both eyes. Blood can be seen in both ears, with a bleeding volume not exceeding 1 milliliter. Possible liberation of visual and auditory genetic basis points. Priority is recommended to go to the visual and auditory testing hall for testing. Neurological and intelligent testing halls are also available. If no findings are found, combined with the comparison results of blood samples before and after injection of gene complex chain allelic drugs, the mysterious series testing hall may be available for trial. The female researcher quickly gave a conclusion to Su's genetic test. Sign, upload electronically, and give Su a handwritten receipt for return. Entering the restroom, Su Guikai realized that the amount of bleeding may be much higher than what the female researcher said. There is some blood in the ears. There is also a strong smell of blood in the nasal cavity. And the mouth is even more filled with blood. As quickly as possible, Su Tue tidied up and stared at the newly bulging lump on his head with hatred, looking depressed. The soft handwritten exam form, like a hard card with long eyes in the hand of the female researcher, accurately flew into Su Gui's hand, who had just walked out of the restroom. Quickly go to the testing hall to test the gene base point and see which direction of gene base point you have opened. The female researcher easily pressed the pager and the door instantly opened. The brothers and sisters are too enthusiastic. Today, we will issue another chapter, with 4 chapters as the first issue. The number of contributions is decreasing rapidly. Passing by, don't forget to collect recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Teacher, I'm hungry. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Teacher, I'm hungry. As soon as Su Tue came out, Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and Lao Ban Yuzeping surrounded him. The old class gathered the fastest. How's it going? After so long, I thought your genome had collapsed. Cheng Mo cracked his mouth. Su Tue silently glanced at Cheng Mo. I'll last longer than you, can't I? Cheng Mo. I'll go, calves. Are you afraid you'll really become a thigh this time? There is a protrusion directly on the head. Are you trying to open the third eye that humans have long disappeared from? Do we still need to grow insect antennae in reverse? Tang Ting, this fat guy, looked at Su Tui's forehead and let out a loud cry, directly attracting the attention of the entire hall. Su Hui. The truth about the bag on his head, he has no face to mention. In an instant, countless eyes fell on Su Tui. The greater the anomaly, the greater the potential. This is the iron law of genetic testing. How iron this iron rule is, how eye-catching is the big bag on Su Tui's forehead at this moment. Old Ban Yuzeping was shocked. Cheng Haizi stared at the bag on Su Tui's head and directly touched it. Why do I look a bit like a lump? Did I also get up when I was a child? Cheng Mo asked with a question mark. Bang! Old Ban Yuzeping hit Cheng Mo's forehead with a violent thud, causing him to look wronged. He's just telling the truth. Do you have the ability to give me such a bag? Old Ban Yuzeping angrily said. There was no change in Cheng Mo's forehead. Cheng Mo. Old class, perhaps the strength is not enough. Do you want to give him a try again? Give it your all. After a moment of silence, Su withdrew and spoke. Cheng Mo immediately protected his forehead and took 3 steps back to a safe range. Let the old class hit it hard again. I don't know if it's possible to knock out any anomalies, but concussion is certain. Cheng Moju is not foolish. Let me take a look at the signed exam form. The anxious old class snatched the exam ticket from Su Tui's hand at the first time, and Cheng Mo and Tang Ting were also extremely anxious and surrounded. Are you still bleeding from your ears? Priority for visual and auditory testing halls. Old Ban Yuzeping's eyes suddenly lit up, and he quickly pushed Su Tui towards the vision and sound testing hall. Then hurry up and test first. Before having a chance to exchange information with Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and a group of classmates, Su Hui was pushed into the vision testing hall by his senior classmate Yuzeping. Cheng Mo and Su Tui called in together, and Tang Ting, a guy with a weight of 100 kilograms, was ranked after Su Tui. He should have already taken the gene liberation potion. After all, Su Chio's clinical observation time was too long just now. Most people only have 5 minutes. Most likely, these 2 guys have already completed the genetic base point opening direction test. I don't know which type of genetic basis point Cheng Mo and Tang Ting have opened up. Before his gaze disappeared, Su Tui's eyes flashed with Tang Ting's 100-kilogram figure, and a sudden thought flashed in his heart. What Tang Ting wouldn't open up is the genetic basis of the stomach, right? The vision testing hall is very simple, with windows displaying various vision testing instruments one by one. From Windows 1 to 6, the instrument can automatically print out the detection form by following the instructions for 30 seconds to 1 minute before leaving each window. This thing was taken before the exam, so it's not unfamiliar now. About 4 minutes later, the final test instrument terminal printed out a result for Su Hui. Divided into pre-exam data group and data after taking gene liberation drugs. The comparison is very obvious. The standard visual acuity before the exam was 4.7, and now it is 5.4. Before the exam, there was no dynamic vision, but now there is none. No pre-exam tracking and capturing visual acuity, currently not available. Before the exam, there was no visual acuity observed through X-ray examination, but now there is none. The results on the test form are very clear, and there is no need for the testing teacher to look at them. Su Chio can also see that he has not opened the basic point of vision-related genes. After comprehensive testing, the student's visual changes belong to the normal basic quality improvement of injected gene compound chain allelic drugs, and no basic features of the open vision gene have been found yet. It is recommended to test other classes. Sign and stamp. Su Tui walked out of the vision testing hall feeling a bit dazed. feeling inexplicably empty in my heart. Surprisingly, there is no penetrating vision. Seeing the appearance of Su Tue, old Ban Yuzeping did not need to look at the test report and had already guessed the result. Directly pushed Su Hui to the audio testing hall. After injecting the medication, your ear canal is bleeding, and the probability of hearing related genes is very high. Don't worry. If we can roar out infrasound waves in the future, it's Superman. The old class was very considerate and comforted Su Tue by the way. A group of classmates, including Cheng Mo and Tang Ting, who were waiting not far away, glanced at Su Tue who had been pushed forward and then gathered together to discuss. The 100-kilogram Tang Ting looked excited and occasionally punched in a muscular manner. On the contrary, Cheng Mo's expression was somewhat gloomy. The audio testing hall is a bit more complex than the visual testing hall, and the testing items are also a bit more, but each test is very fast. Divided into two categories. Listen and speak. To be precise, it's listening and shouting. After taking gene liberation drugs, many students will experience various changes related to sound after activating the sound gene base. In addition to basic hearing enhancement, one can also directly hear radio waves of various frequencies or ranges, and hear some special high-frequency sounds. Or it can produce some special sounds, such as infrasound or ultrasound, etc. The entire testing process relies on instruments. 5 minutes later, Su Hui received the test report. The comments from the testing teacher are similar to those in the audio testing hall. After comprehensive testing, the change in the student's vocal ability belongs to the normal basic quality improvement of injecting gene compound chain allelic drugs, and no basic feature of their opening vocal gene has been found yet. It is recommended to test other classes. After going out, old Ban Yuzeping rushed to check the test results and became a bit anxious. Without saying a word, Su Tue was pushed to the neurological testing hall. In the class he led, there were a total of 3 students who had passed the double excellence line, and now 2 have been eliminated. Actually, it's not considered useless, it's just a bit of that. Unfortunately, old Ban Yuzeping's heart was hanging more and more. Su Tue's heart sank deeper and deeper. The results of the neural testing hall, which mainly tests the neural response speed, are the same as above. The results of the intelligent testing hall for memory and learning ability are still the same as before. Su Tue's face was a bit pale. Old Ban Yuzeping's expression was somewhat uncomfortable. So what? Don't worry, there's still no testing in the mystery series testing hall. Although he said so, the old class did not take Su back to the mysterious testing hall. Because the mysterious department testing hall is not something that can be accessed just by desire, it must be recommended by the testing teacher's comments. In fact, Su Chiu has already received it. It's the female researcher who handwritten the exam form. If no findings are found, combined with the comparison results of blood samples before and after injection of gene complex chain allelic drugs, the mysterious series testing hall may be available for trial. With this handwritten exam form, Su can return to the mysterious department testing hall for testing. But the prerequisite is that the results of blood sample comparison before and after injection of gene complex chain allelic drugs must be combined before being allowed to enter the mysterious lineage testing hall. Now, it's just waiting for the blood sample comparison results. But in this situation, old Ban Yuzeping still has some room to retreat, and his attitude is somewhat pessimistic. According to the exam strategies of senior students, if the mysterious genetic basis is opened, in most cases, the representation will be very, very obvious. For example, the short guy who was previously confirmed to be from the extraordinary series, even if he didn't enter the testing hall, there would still be some anomalies around him. For example, hair is prone to spontaneous combustion, or contact with objects is prone to spontaneous combustion, and so on. Su withdrew and gathered around the classmates who had already completed the testing earlier. No need to ask, you can tell the result by looking at their faces. In this situation, there is no way to comfort. Because there was no next time. Once for a lifetime. Of course, even if the genetic basis has not been opened, it is not bad. As long as the gene liberation agent has been injected, the basic qualities of the injected person will be improved by 5% to 20% depending on the level of the injection agent. There are some advantages in both learning and employment. Moreover, Su Tui's injection is still a C-grade gene liberation drug. But the possibility of strengthening one's own genes in the future becomes very small. It's okay, I only opened 3 gene bases, which is basically useless. I still injected a D-level gene liberation drug, not as good as you, a classmate comforted. Suddenly, Cheng Mo let out a long sigh. Hey, you're satisfied. It's better than me no matter what. Su Tui glanced over and saw that Cheng Mo was really worried and couldn't help but wonder. I have opened up 11 genetic basis points, isn't that good? Cheng Mo sighed, pointing to himself. 11 gene basis points. Not only good. It's very impressive. The basic requirement for entering Jincheng University of Gene Evolution is only to open up 5 genetic basis points. And the genetic basis requirement for entering the top 3 ranked universities in China is only 10. But I'm Tama. Cheng Mo pointed to his chest with a tearless expression on his face. But out of the 11 gene bases that I have activated, 7 are located in the stomach, concentrated in the digestive system. Am I the man who wants to become the king of stomach? Cheng Mo looked up to the sky and cried out in sorrow. I don't usually eat much. I don't even have 1/3 of this guy from Tang Hall. How can Tang Ting, with a tonnage of 100 kilograms, activate genes related to speed and strength? No matter how you look at him, he's the man who looks most like the king of stomach. How did this end up being me? As he spoke, the corners of Cheng Mo's eyes turned slightly red. He was 1.8 meters tall and squatted directly on the ground. Su Tui remained silent. Tang Hall remained silent. He was shot just because he was a little overweight. This is the reason why old Ban Yuzeping said that Cheng Mo is similar to being deposed. The benefit of liberating the genetic basis of the digestive system, especially the gastric genetic basis, is to eat more, gain weight, and have an amazing recovery ability. Often referred to as a rice bucket. Thinking that Cheng Mo, a 1.8-meter long-legged giant, may become a 300 kilograms humanoid flesh mountain in the future, old Ban Yuzeping felt infinite heartache. Inexplicable heartache. Cheng Mo, it's a man, just stand up for me. After all, you have also opened up several other genetic bases, and everything is still possible. I will also do my best to help you, teacher, and find my former colleagues to help you research and strengthen your direction. If you encounter difficulties, the teacher will definitely help you. Old Ban Yuzeping said. Cheng Mo, who had a sad expression just now, suddenly stood up. Old class, I have difficulties right now. At this moment, this situation and scene. Old Ban Yuzeping spoke with a fearless attitude, as long as I can do it, I will definitely help you. Old class, I'm hungry. Very fitting, Cheng Mo's abdomen let out a thunderous roar. Do you have any recommendations or favorites? If not, I'll send a photo of my 3-year-old adorable child begging for jade with both hands tomorrow. Well, in the new book period, I would like to request collection recommendations and care. In addition, capable brothers and sisters will reward and take care of them. Zhu San only discovered this morning that the current new book list requires tipping to make it, crying. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Mysterious Genetic Basis. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Mysterious Genetic Basis. The comparison of blood samples before and after injection of gene liberation drugs takes 20 minutes to obtain results. Cheng Mo, Tang Ting and other classmates have already come out. Su's refund will have to wait for a while. The clinical observation time was too long before. Taking advantage of this time, the classmates also started chatting. Su Tui also roughly understood the situation of his classmates. How to say it? The results may not be good for those with multiple genetic basis points. The representative among them is Cheng Mo. At present, the person in Class 7 of Grade 3 of Jincheng No. 9 Middle School has the highest number of gene base points, but the position of gene base points is mainly concentrated in the stomach. This is a bit useless. Some students have only opened up 6 genetic basis points, but these 6 genetic basis points are concentrated in the field of smell, which will make their professional development very strong in the future. The future is promising. For example, the Tang Hall with a tonnage of 100 kilograms only has 8 genetic basis points, but it is a relatively good combination of strength and speed. This combination, even among gene warriors, is a relatively good combination. By the way, what is the genetic basis for the power and speed of your opening in the hall, Tang Hall? Su Tui asked. Strength and speed are just one big category, with many smaller directions below. Su Tui didn't ask, it was okay. When Su Tui asked, the fat on Tang Ting's face trembled for a moment, with a hint of melancholy. Lower limb strength. Not bad, what about speed? Su Tui asked. Tang Ting remained silent. What is the problem with this? Su Tui's gaze turned to Cheng Mo. It's hand speed. It seemed unwilling to let Cheng Mo speak with such a big mouth, but Tang Ting looked at his right hand with a melancholy expression and said it first. Hand speed. Su Tui was stunned. Didn't the teacher say before that the more you use a certain aspect, the more likely it is to open up a genetic basis for that aspect? Old Tang, how did you practice your hand speed? Hand speed. This application. This direction. This screen. That's right, it's hand speed, or his favorite right hand. What else can he do? He was already fast, he will be even faster in the future. Cheng Mo, who was eagerly searching for possible food on the side, made a fierce blow. You're so fast. Tang Ting's face instantly turned red as he approached and twisted with Cheng Mo. The security personnel in the distance glanced but didn't pay attention. During the annual genetic examination, it is common to see such scenes of great sadness and joy. As long as it does not affect the order of the examination room, they will not interfere. Just as the two of them were arguing, the 2 students who had finished their exams suddenly walked over when they saw the commotion here. Oh, what's wrong with you? The so-called righteous and righteous Class 7, big, medium, and small, 3 young students. This is the result of the failure of the genetic foundation to open the nest and turn it upside down. He Mingxian, who was quite tall and exuding a muscular aura, stood arm in arm with Sun Qi, who was as strong as an ox, with a hint of humor. Of course, this joke was not brought up out of thin air. These 2 are also from Jincheng No. 9 Middle School, Class 6, Grade 3. The school is next door. Although the energy of high school students is squeezed by studying and physical training almost every day, they cannot resist their youth and have caused conflicts several times. Small things such as class competitions, protecting class flowers, playing rice and cutting teams have become enemies. I have made several appointments with the small forest. Each has its own winner. Just at this moment, the ridicule of these 2 people sounds particularly harsh. Especially when all 3 young people, big, medium, and small, feel a bit disappointed. Tang Hall, nicknamed Tang Hall, this is Great Britain. Well, because of the tonnage. Cheng Mo, nicknamed Shanghaizi. Why is it Chinese and English? Center height. Su Tui, nicknamed Xiaolu, Xiaoying. The arrival of He Mingxian and Sun Qi made Cheng Mo and Tang Ting stop fighting at the first moment, and then stood side by side with Su Tui. Consistent with the outside world. You 2 go aside, there's no room for you to interject between our brothers. Tang Ting was most spirited at this moment. I'm combining speed and strength now, so be careful not to beat you all up in the future. It's not certain who beats who. He Mingxian shook out a test sheet and said, "Unfortunately, I am also based on a combination of speed and strength genes. Well, I've opened up 10 genetic basis points." Tang Ting's face changed and he suddenly felt a little hesitant. Who makes his speed class very skilled in hand speed. He Mingxian is actually an extremely valuable comprehensive speed expert. Feeling dissatisfied with the suppression of his own momentum, Cheng Mo spoke with a rude expression on his face. "What's so impressive about having only 10 genetic basis points? I opened 11. Cheng Mo also flashed his exam form. Although it was a fleeting moment, after injecting gene liberation drugs, the enhanced basic vision still allowed He Mingxian and Sun Qi to see clearly. Sun Qi laughed with extreme exaggeration as he hugged his stomach. 7 genetic basis points in the stomach. Aren't you the legendary rice barrel? Ha ha ha, I'm laughing to death. How dare the future trash compare to our future gene warriors? Cheng Mo's face turned instantly pale with iron. Su Tue is feeling down, but good brothers, we have to fight together, even if you have to kneel. We also have to kneel together after finishing the fight. We cannot be discouraged. Before Su Tue could speak, the mockery of He Mingxian and Sun Qi fell on Su Tue's head. And you, Su Xiaoleg, do you think having a bag on your head can unlock the mysterious series? Dream your spring and autumn dreams. The team leader over there has said that you are very likely to have a useless physique. No genetic basis point has been opened. The reason I asked you to do the test is that the female researcher pities you. Is the student allowed to leave or not? When He Mingxian and Sun Qi were enthusiastic, a white coat waved a testing sheet and shouted. However, his high voice was overshadowed by He Mingxian and Sun Qi, who were taking advantage of the opportunity to confidently express their willingness to retreat. Shut up. Not far away, there was no movement from the security guard dressed in camouflage clothing. In the eyes of everyone, they just stepped out and appeared behind He Mingxian and Sun Qi. In the next moment, He Mingxian, who was 1.8 meters tall, and Sun Qi, who was as strong as an ox, were lifted up by the camouflage security guard like pinching a chicken by the back of their necks. The two of them instantly lost their voices. A scream of surprise echoed in the hall. Watching the handsome security guard raise He Mingxian and Sun Qi in an inhuman manner like raising a chicken, a group of boys envied and became excited. A group of girls jumped excitedly, only hating that their personal communication devices were confiscated when they entered the genetic testing venue. Otherwise, it would definitely go crazy with a clattering sound. Hurry up again and take a photo with this handsome security guy. Then I will post another moment. Witnessing my male god abusing chicks with his hands. Quiet. The powerful aura of the handsome security guard brother erupted, making the entire gene testing room quiet. The research on the white coat also came to Su Tue and others, comparing it to the electronic holographic information above. Are you a student with student ID J61222007210017, who is allowed to withdraw? I am. Su Tue nodded. Well, the comparison results of your blood samples before and after injecting the gene complex chain allelic drug are out. The blood sample comparison shows that you have activated a total of 14 gene basis points. Take this and go to the mysterious testing hall to test one by one, white coat said. I opened 14 genetic basis points. Su Tue felt a bit dazed. Bai Degeo glanced at the exam form with some uncertainty and said, that's right, 14. Hurry up and go to the mysterious department hall to test. 14. The old class, who returned empty-handed to find food for Cheng Mo, snatched the exam ticket like a snatch, feeling excited beyond control. 14 genetic basis points, absolutely mysterious. Let's go, hurry up. After speaking, old Ban Yuzeping walked towards the mysterious series testing hall with Su Tue, regardless of anything else. He Mingxian and Sun Qi, who had long been released, touched their necks with a somewhat painful expression. That security guard is too aggressive. They will still be in pain. However, what made them even more unhappy was that Su Qiu had opened up 14 genetic basis points. 14 gene basis points. He Mingxian was a bit surprised. The Gene Unified Examination record of Jincheng No. 9 High School is the opening of 14 gene basis points. It was not held on site yet. But by now, no one had paid attention to the two of them. Su Tui opened up a halo of 14 genetic basis points, attracting everyone. The Shu Tui limit line did not show any genetic basis. So these 14 genetic basis points must be in the realm of mystery. In the current system of gene-enhanced evolution, even if there are 100 extreme lineages, there may not necessarily be a mysterious lineage. In most cases, the potential and future development of mystery systems cannot be compared to those of extreme systems. Once the mysterious series grows to a certain extent, it can easily defeat most extreme series. Cheng Mo, Tang Ting, and other classmates were all watching Su Tui, who had been pushed into the mysterious testing hall by the old class. Su Tui, could it be the genetic basis for opening up the mysterious lineage? If enabled, what kind of mysterious series would it be? Brothers and sisters want to see the cute children of the three pigs. Make arrangements. Today's first bullet. Today, many brothers and sisters reward Zhu San for supporting him. There are old friends Lu Zhongnan, the leader of the new league, with handsome address, and younger brothers and sisters such as Feng Shou Meng Yuan and I. How can I be a bookworm? Due to the large number of people, Zhu San will not list them one by one. Zhu San will open a special chapter every now and then to thank the little brothers, ladies, and sisters who support Zhu San. Thank you very much, Bao. Finally, let's stick to that sentence. When it comes to collecting and recommending items, you must leave them behind. Rewards and other similar items should be handled within your abilities, young brothers and sisters. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Su Tui's Mysterious Ability. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Su Tui's Mysterious Ability. The comparison results of blood samples before and after injection of gene liberation drugs showed that Su Tui opened 14 gene basis points. Su Tui, who was originally somewhat bereaved, immediately felt like he had been beaten with chicken blood. With great determination and vigor, he stepped into the testing hall of the mysterious series. The blood sample comparison results are right there. The 14 genetic basis points objectively exist. The previous limit system has been rejected. That Su Tui is a confirmed mystery. Compared to the testing hall of the Extreme series, which is full of various instruments and equipment, the mysterious series testing hall appears very simple. Su Tui had just stepped into the first radiation impact testing room in the mysterious testing hall channel, and an inexplicable aura enveloped him, making him drowsy. It could be a few seconds. It could also be a few minutes. Su Tui, who had regained consciousness, already had an extra exam ticket in his arms. After testing, it was found that student Su Tui did not activate the radiation impact gene base point. The negation is very thorough and fast. This mysterious type of radiation influence, the most famous of which is spiritual intervention, commonly known as hypnosis in the folk. Su Tui shook his head and walked towards the testing room of the current sensing class. Come in faster, come out faster. It is still a rejected exam form. Subsequently, Su Tui entered the testing room of the mysterious and extraordinary class. There is only one straight channel in the extraordinary testing room, and there are many strange things on both sides of the channel. After Su Tui walked through the channel as required, nothing happened. Then, Su Tui received another rejected exam form. Su Tui is panicking again. There are not many mysterious categories, and according to the testing order, there should be another Huaxin testing room. But Su Tui walked around the mysterious testing hall and didn't find where this Huaxin testing room was. Su Tui is a bit confused. Excuse me, where is the testing room for Huixin? Su Tui took the initiative to ask the security guard for directions. The Huixin class testing room is in room 5. Room 5. Su Tui's gaze swept through a row of testing rooms in the mysterious testing hall, still looking bewildered. There is no room number 5 available. Outside, the security guard added. Outside. It's the 5th room in rooms 1 to 40 where you injected the gene liberation drug. Su Tui was stunned. This is quite unexpected. I'm still a bit surprised. The mysterious style of burgers is so high. How come this intelligent testing room not only does not have a separate room, but also directly overlaps with the room where gene liberation drugs are injected? It's a bit illogical. Su Tui walked out of the mysterious testing hall honestly and walked towards the Huixin testing room. It happened to be room 5 where Su Tui injected the gene liberation drug before. How's it going? What kind of mysterious genre is it? Are you a superhero? The old class and a group of classmates watched Su withdraw and surrounded him. Su Tui shook his head and pointed to room 5, saying that there was still one test that had not been done, leaving the old class and classmates looking confused. Why did you go back to the previous exam room? Can you possibly give this guy another shot? Su Tui is also very helpless. If this wise-minded class is no longer. So if you want to refund, you have to consider whether the blood sample comparison form is wrong. 14 genetic basis points have been opened, and neither the known extreme nor mysterious strains are. Su Tui suddenly thought of an extremely broad possibility. Sliced by the Gene Research Institute. After all, slicing Su Hui may reveal a new direction, isn't it? Su Tui is very panicked. Ring the doorbell, indicating the purpose of the visit, and ask Su Tui to wait a bit. A few minutes later, a student came out of room 5, and the female researcher in room 5 shouted for Su to withdraw. Still the female researcher. Just being rejected from beginning to end, I am already a bit hesitant. Hello, I'm here to test if I can activate the mysterious Huixin gene base, Su Tui said. The previous exam form, blood sample comparison form, said the female researcher. The blood sample comparison sheet shows that you have activated 14 genetic basis points. It seems that you haven't opened up the genetic basis for penetrating vision. The female researcher brought up this issue again. Su Tui, who was concerned about the future, was no longer in the mood to blush. He just wanted to know if he had activated the genetic basis of the wisdom class. Will it be sliced for research? Teacher, when will the test start? Su Tui asked. So anxious. The female researcher wearing a large mask looked at Su Tui, whose handsome face was tense. Her slender eyebrows curved slightly, indicating a smile. I took out a card, brushed and wrote a few strokes, signed and stamped it. With a swipe, the card accurately flew into Su Tui's hand. Well, the 14 genetic basis points you have opened are all mysterious and intelligent. This is the final exam form, which will be entered into the system soon, said the female researcher. Are they all intelligent? Looking at the exam form, Su Tui still feels a bit confused. It seems like there's no testing at all, right? He fainted at least for the radiation impact test. The wise-minded person in front of him had no feeling at all, so he became. This is it. Is there still a problem? The female researcher turned her head to look at Su Tui. Su Tui looked at the female researcher and then at the final exam form in his hand, feeling a bit dizzy. So that's it. It seems like it hasn't been tested yet, has it? What test do you want? If you can tell, can you still call it the mystery department, said the female researcher. Su Tui was stunned. That's right. Otherwise, how can we call it the mystery department? Goodbye, teacher. Su Tui politely greeted and was about to leave. Wait a minute. Before leaving, the female researcher suddenly stopped Su Tui. This is my business card. If you want to apply for Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution, you can ask me any questions about Huaxin. Well, don't bother me with nothing. Otherwise, it will be blacklisted. The paper business card flew accurately into Su Tui's hand with a swoosh. This extra care left Su Tui somewhat puzzled. He doesn't seem to have such relatives and friends in his family. Is it because of the previous perspective episode? I think it's impossible. The female researcher once again demonstrated her incredible ability to see through Su Tui's inner thoughts. Don't daydream. I gave you the business card mainly because we have a bit of a shortage of intelligent people, the female researcher shrugged. Additionally, as long as you don't have any mental problems, it's highly likely that you will come to the wisdom department of the School of Mystery at Huaxia University of Gene Evolution. You don't have any holes in your head, do you? Su Tui shook his head in confusion and glanced at the business card. An Xiaoxue. Professor at the School of Mystery at Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. Professor, if you're not an old man, you'll have to be middle-aged and elderly. Although she didn't see her face, the female researcher's voice and the youthful aura emanating from her body all indicate that she should be young. Such a young professor is still a professor at the top Chinese University of Genetic Evolution in China. It is truly shocking. Su Tui is not a sand sculpture either. In this era of genes, everything is possible under gene reinforcement, mutation, and evolution. Put away the business card, say thank you, and then leave. After leaving the gate of room 5, a group of classmates and an old class named Giuseppe gathered around. Staring at Su Tui with hungry and thirsty eyes like wolves. How about it, is it a mystery genre? It's a mystery series with 14 genetic basis points. Su Tuiyang raised his hand to the final exam form. Cheng Mo and Tang Ting gathered around Su Tui and cheered. Everyone was extremely happy. They are happier than the mysterious ones themselves. All the pressure dissipated completely in a classmate-like smile and laughter. Su Tui also laughed. Old Ban Yuzeping also smiled knowingly, but behind the smile, there was a hint of bitterness that others could not perceive. These children probably only laughed so pure at this very moment. Today, it is probably the last time in their lives that they have laughed so happily and so pure. Taking advantage of everyone's playfulness and taking Su's final exam form, he glanced at the old class member Yuzeping and his mouth twitched. Surprisingly, it belongs to the wise heart system. As an educator, old Ban Yuzeping still has some understanding of the mysterious Huaxin system. Wisdom-oriented, it seems that there are quite a few people engaged in research and development. By the way, calves, what exactly is your mysterious ability? Tang Ting suddenly asked. In fact, Su Tui is also contemplating this issue. Once you receive the final exam form, hurry up and register, and then receive the relevant guidance manual for the category. You are the same. You should know that the 3 months following the injection of gene liberation drugs are your period of continuous improvement. These 3 months must not be delayed at the beginning. Yuzeping transformed into a class mom in nagging mode. Starting from tomorrow, until a few days before reporting to the university, you must strictly follow the guidance manual you will receive later and train according to your own genetic starting point direction. It's up to you guys to do it on your own. Old class Yuzeping suddenly choked up a bit in his voice, causing 2 female classmates to burst into tears on the spot. Cry, cry. You still have to meet tomorrow when filling out your preferences. Hurry up, don't delay the time. From now on, you can't miss a day of training. Amidst the pushing and shoving of Yuzeping in the old class, the students each headed towards their respective genetic base points to sign in and collect information. The other students are all queuing up. There is no need to queue up for the mysterious system here. The guidance manual for the wisdom class is very thin, very thin. Apart from some general overview of the Huaxin system, there is no way to exercise one's abilities at all. Of course, so far, Su Hui has not discovered what his mysterious abilities are. Except for the faint smell of blood in the mouth. After leaving the Genetic Research Institute as the examination room, Su Tui had many doubts and uncertainties in his heart. There is a hint of indescribable oppression. Instead of waiting for Cheng Mo, Tang Hall and others who were still in line, they went home alone. Along the way, Su Tui was thinking about a question. What is the ability of the 14 genetic basis points he opened in the mysterious series? Until he got home, Su Tui didn't come up with a 1, 2, or 3 plan. After looking at the business card of the female professor in Xiaoxue, Su Tui restrained his impulse and did not hit it. Of course, it's useless to fight. Because she is still hosting exams in the Genetic Research Institute, her personal communication devices should be turned off. Su returned safely. Father Su Jiangwo and Mother Zhang Xiuli were extremely happy. In the afternoon, some parents received a notification of their child's genome collapse, and the parent group was already in a frenzy. Su Tui has opened up 14 genetic basis points, which is still a mysterious lineage, but it is not important anymore. Of course, when his father Su Jiangwo heard that Su Tui's genetic basis belonged to the mysterious inner wisdom class. It was still an unexpected moment. Not long after finishing his meal, Su Gui returned to his room. Tap your personal communication device, and an electronic projection and virtual projection keyboard will appear on your desk. Compared to voice input, Su Qiu prefers virtual projection keyboards. Su Qiu began using various search engines to search for information across the entire network. Search for various materials related to mysterious and wise minds. Unfortunately, today's internet has become so powerful and convenient that it cannot be described, and information control has also reached an unprecedented level. Especially some sensitive information. In short, it is what Su Tui already knows, especially about the mysterious genre, which is available online. The mysterious content that Su Tui wants to know cannot be searched. Not to mention the more obscure wisdom system. Searching until 1 a.m., Su Tui reluctantly gave up. It seems that we can only contact Professor N tomorrow. A professor from the Department of Mystery at the University of Genetic Evolution, can you give Su some advice? Wash up, strip off and go to bed. Su Tui habitually sat cross-legged and began to meditate on evening classes. Sniffing and spitting, my whole body relaxed, and soon entered the ethereal and extremely relaxed meditation state as usual. But just as he entered this state of meditation, Su Tuidan suddenly felt a bright light in front of him. Not right. Su Tui was very clear that his eyes were still tightly closed. But his eyes really brightened up, and gradually he saw a figure. A figure sitting cross-legged, with shadows all around, as if countless rays of light were flowing, very blurry. Only the head position has 14 faint spots of light. Where did this come from? Su Tui was surprised. Open your eyes and search. It's gone. As soon as I closed my eyes and entered a state of meditation, I came back. After trying for half an hour, Su Tui suddenly realized. What he sees here seems to be himself. It's just a bit empty. Yesterday, the cute little boy from the Piggy 3 family in Easter Egg Zhang was highly praised. There will be a second round in the future. Well, Zhu-san also has a daughter. Favorite recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. Su Hui's Second Blood, recommended for collection. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. Su Hui's Second Blood, recommended for collection. Su got out of bed and used the chair as an obstacle to go to the bathroom, first ruling out the possibility of hallucinations. Then, Su Tui found a piece of paper and wrote down his name. I wrote down the names of several classmates I secretly liked in middle school. They are all girls. There are no men. I watched it once. Accurate and error-free. Su Tui ruled out the possibility of experiencing mental disorder. I can basically confirm that the phantom I see with my eyes closed during meditation is myself. There are two reasons for making such a judgment. One is that there is a high degree of overlap between the 14 faint light spots concentrated in the head and the 14 mysterious lineage gene bases opened by Su Tui in the afternoon. Secondly, in a meditative state, Su Tui attempts to make movements. If one changes from sitting cross-legged to lying down, extends their arms and shakes their head, as long as the movement amplitude is a bit larger, this phantom will also undergo the same change. Is this the ability of the mysterious lineage that emerged after I opened 14 genetic basis points today? Su got out of bed and opened his personal communication device again for projection search, with a fierce operation like a tiger. The internet is flooded with information about mysterious abilities. There are not many references available. Not to mention the strange phantom that Su Tui saw in his meditative state. Heroes have been commented upon since ancient times. Su Chiu couldn't find any information that could be directly referenced, but he still found some useful reference information from reviews of online novels and movies. According to the current classification of human gene reinforcement evolution, among gene liberators, gene mutants, gene evolutionists, and gene transmutators, a very small number of gene evolutionists will develop the ability to internalize. A small number of gene mutants can also obtain inner vision ability through gene fusion adjustment. The most important role of this kind of introspection is to enable the owner to fully understand the changes in their physical condition without the use of any technological instruments. In many cases, it is more accurate than technological instruments. It is a gene ability that is relatively in a low auxiliary position. But it is the favorite of some ruthless people who directly experiment with their own bodies. On the contrary, extreme gene warriors and mysterious supernatural beings in extraterrestrial battlefields would not choose this evolutionary direction. Every choice of direction for enhanced evolution is very valuable and cautious. This low auxiliary level of inner vision ability is very similar to the virtual shadows that Su Tui currently sees. Although it is low assistance, Su Tuan is very satisfied. At least we have the ability of the mysterious faction. Otherwise, when others ask, they can only stare blankly. Moreover, this low assistive ability can only be enhanced by higher-order gene evolutionists or transmutators. As for Su Hui now, evolutioners with any genetic mutations have nothing to do with Su Tui. Su Tui is not even the lowest level gene liberator. Satisfied. Great satisfaction. Understanding one's own body structure is also a good approach. Subsequently, Su Tui meditated again and entered this state of inner vision, beginning to understand his own body structure. Well, change your posture. This time, I will meditate while lying down. An hour later, Su Tui realized that his progress in human architecture was more than the total of his 6 years of study in middle and high school. Nerves, muscles, bones, joints, blood vessels, and so on. It's better to look at the model 1,000 times than to look inside once for authenticity. Soon, Su Chiu made a new discovery. His inner vision ability has two states, one of which is called true inner vision. In this state, Su Tui can see everything inside his body clearly, including muscles, joints, and inguinal lymph nodes, all of which are pediatrics, including the blood flow in capillaries, and even the nerve beat reflex changes in the most precious parts of the little brother's body. Another state that is allowed to retreat is called illusory introspection. In this meditative state, Su Tui can see his own figure phantom with countless blurred radiance flowing. There are 14 dimly lit spots on the head as landmarks. Su Hui found that the more focused his attention was when he was in the illusion of inner vision, the more realistic the human figure's illusion would be. In addition to the 14 dimly lit spots concentrated in the head area, Su Tui could also see dense gray spots within the humanoid phantom. The more important the functional parts of the body, the more gray spots there are. This reminds Su Tui of something. Quickly, Su Tui made new discoveries while in a state of illusory inner vision. In a state of illusory inner vision, attention is highly focused, and the countless blurry halos that make up the illusion of human figures gradually become clear and distinct. Most of them are normal gray hues, with only 2 locations having different hues. One is the 14 light dots on the head that represent the starting point of the gene, appearing faint white. Another thing is the middle part of the humanoid phantom, which emits one dim white glow after another at an unstable frequency. The direction of this white radiance is unpredictable, but more than 1/3 of it flows towards the head, while the rest is also divided into a dozen or so parts, flowing towards the chest, abdomen, and then the limbs. However, at this point, the flow to the limbs is minimal. Su Tue was somewhat surprised. What exactly did he see? His introspection seems to be different from the introspection of gene evolutionists and gene mutants mentioned on the internet. After observing for a full 15 minutes, Su Tue suddenly realized. In the state of illusory inner vision, the proportion of this humanoid phantom to Su Tue himself is basically 1 to 0.1. Just a slight comparison of the positions reveals it. Isn't this the spot where white light flows out his stomach? The flow of white light is mainly to the chest and abdomen, except for the head, which is the location where the heart and liver are located. Does the stomach digest food to obtain energy, which is consumed by various parts of the body? Su Tue boldly speculates. Part of the white light flowing from the stomach flowed upwards into the head area and then divided into 3 parts. The largest part flows towards the head and disappears at various positions. A small portion of the 14 gene bases that have already been opened have been merged, and the white glow emitted by those 14 gene bases seems to have slightly increased. The part with the least weight actually flows into a few gray dots near the open gene base, and then disappears. Those gray dots trembled slightly, but there was no movement. This is not an illusion. There may be illusions when observed with the naked eye. But under the condition of internal vision, all changes are subtle and visible. There is no illusion to say. Su Tuanju is likely to have noticed a remarkable change. To be cautious, Su Qiuzai carefully observed for half an hour and confirmed his discovery. During this observation process, Su Qiu made another discovery. His consciousness, or rather, his withdrawal of attention, can to some extent affect the direction of the flow of white energy flowing from his stomach. If that's the case, Su Tue's heart twitched, and suddenly he had an extremely bold idea. The youth's warning lies in their appearance and recklessness. But if you can quit, you won't be called a teenager. Su Tue felt an impulse in his heart, and with the cooperation of his consciousness, he became reckless. Under the dominant influence of Su Tue's consciousness, the white energy flowing from the stomach surged towards the head to the maximum extent. Rushed towards a gray dot on the edge of a gene base flickering with white light on the head. Under Su Tue's illusory gaze, the gray dot suddenly lit up like an electrified light bulb. An indescribable pain also struck at this moment. Su Tue felt as if he had been whipped by his mother's whip inside his head, and his tightly closed eyes suddenly opened wide and wide. At the moment when blood overflowed from his eyes, ears, mouth, and nose, Su Tue's eyes darkened and he lost consciousness. Su Tue's second blood rush today. Su Tue woke up amidst the screams of his mother Zhang Shuli's terror. After Su Tue struggled to open his eyes, he saw his parents standing in front of his bed. Mother Zhang Shuli had a frightened expression on her face, tears streaming down her face, and she was at a loss. Although his parent Su Jiangwo had an eager expression, he was much calmer. Progress. Progress, can hands move? Can you speak up? If possible, tell me your physical feelings. The scene before him left Su Tue somewhat bewildered. My head is drowsy and I feel like I haven't woken up. This is the first time in so many years that Su Tue's spirit is still so tired after waking up from sleep. It's like taking a nap. My limbs are a bit sore, lazy, and I really don't want to move, just want to lie down. However, the voices of his parents gradually awakened Su Tue's consciousness. I also recall what happened last night. Is that gray dot bright or not in the end? Why did you just faint? Also, what are parents afraid of? Dad, what's wrong with me? Su Tui spoke slowly. Seeing Su retreat and speak, his father Su Jiangwo's nervousness eased slightly. You didn't wake up this morning. Your mother came over to call you and saw that your face was covered in blood scabs. My face is covered in blood. Su Tui raised his sore arm and touched his face, touching the blood that had been killed. Damn it, this is second blood. Su Tui's ability to speak, clear consciousness, and ability to move his hands and feet indicates that the problem is not significant. According to his father Su Jiangwo, this may be a delayed side effect of Su Tui's opening of the genetic basis yesterday. Mother Zhang Xiuli still strongly demands that Su withdraw to the hospital for examination. Knowing that it might have been an accident caused by his own carelessness, Su Tui was extremely unwilling to go to the hospital. Finally, with the support of his father Su Jiangwo, a 2-to-1 ratio temporarily suppressed the ultimate care boss of the family. Mom! Get up and wash up. Su Tui suddenly realized that he was very hungry. You can eat a cow if you're hungry. After eliminating 2.5 portions of breakfast for 3 people at home, Su Tui straightened his stomach and looked satisfied, feeling much more energetic. In addition to his mental state, Su Tui suddenly had a slightly different feeling. In response to a question, the brothers and sisters said why Zhu San didn't disclose his daughter when he had a daughter. Isn't this a preference for boys? How could it be? Pig San is mainly afraid. What if he exposes his daughter and summons a son-in-law who proposed to him with 100,000 yuan? After all, Pig 3's genes are amazing. Seeking collection recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Engine Theory. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Engine Theory. Today is the day to fill out your application. In the era of genetics, many things have undergone earth-shattering changes. Kindergartens, primary schools, middle schools, and high schools all have winter and summer vacations, except for high school seniors who have completed the genetic testing. Within 3 months after the injection of gene liberation drugs, it is a period of continuous improvement for the recipient. Depending on individual talents or genetics, training intensity, and training plan, a certain number of genetic basis points will be continuously activated within 3 months. Individual geniuses, combined with resource advantages, can even start a systematic genetic foundation within 3 months and advance to become gene liberators. These 3 months are extremely important for students who have just completed the genetic examination. Even if there are not many resources available, there can be a certain degree of improvement based solely on the sustained efficacy of injecting gene liberation drugs. Each gene evolution university will naturally not waste this precious 3 months of time. The country also does not allow it. After the completion of the genetic examination, in accordance with the requirements of the China Genomics Committee and the Chinese Ministry of Education, students are required to complete their volunteer application within 12 hours. Each gene evolution university needs to complete the enrollment process and report the final results within 36 hours. The relevant departments of each government should issue admission notices within 1 day. From the 4th day, students can start to register for the University of Gene Evolution. Freshman registration is generally completed within 3 days, and in remote areas, it cannot exceed 5 days. Time can be said to be very tight. So even if Su Tui felt a bit mentally drained, he went to school again after having breakfast. This resulted in Su Tui having no chance to enter the illusory inner vision state through meditation and check if the gray spot had gone up recklessly. However, since waking up in the morning, my feelings towards my surroundings have always been different. The intuitive feeling seems to be that everything around has become more vivid and authentic. Even mosquitoes that have survived several waves of genetic extinction are alive and well. Su Tue is well aware that this is not a consequence of vision improvement after injecting gene liberation drugs. It was not until he arrived at the school and arrived at the entrance of the old class's office that Su Tue suddenly discovered the source of this abnormal feeling. Su withdrew early, but there were not many classmates who came to fill out their preferences in the old class. Today's volunteer application deadline ends at 8 p.m., and many students are still working with their families to study which gene evolution university to apply for. There are not many people like Su Tue who have limited choices. As Professor in Xiaoxue asked. Su Tue has a lump on his head. But there's no pit. The door to the small office of Ben's mother is closed. When Su Tue raised his hand to knock on the door, he suddenly froze and hung his hand abruptly. The door was still closed, and the situation inside suddenly appeared in Su Tue's mind. Cheng Mo was brushing and writing a volunteer application form in front of his homeroom mother Yuzeping, filling it out extremely fluently. Without any hesitation. After filling it out, it was handed over to the class mother Yuzeping for review. But strangely enough, Su Tue had already seen Cheng Mo's choice of university first. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. 3 choices, all the same. Su Tue was shocked. What surprised Su Tue was not that Cheng Mo only filled out the same university for all 3 of his choices. But in shock, I was still outside the door, separated by the door, the wall, and another person. How could I see Cheng Mo's application? In the office, the furrowed brows of old Ban Yuzeping, the yellowed cigarette stains on his teeth, and the smoky cigarette sandwiched between his fingertips all appeared in Su Tue's heart with extremely subtle details. That's a Hua Zi. However, the range of sight is limited to the chair behind the old class, and beyond the limit of that chair, suddenly nothing can be seen. Is this my new ability to unlock 14 mysterious genetic basis points? Or was it the new ability that came out last night? In the era of genetics, any mysterious ability is acceptable. How did the key come about? The sound of 2 people communicating outside the door. Are you sure you want all 3 choices to apply to Huaxia University of Gene Evolution? If you can't make it, you'll be at a loss. Yuzeping once again transformed into a class mother. Old class, our whole family studied all night and only realized that the Huaxia University of Gene Evolution, which is at the forefront of genetic research, is most likely to turn the genetic foundation of the big stomach god king that I have opened into treasure. Solve my current problem. Cheng Mo is rarely serious. Since it was the result of careful consideration by the whole family, Ban Mama Yuzeping didn't say much and added one more thing. Then check, accept automatic transfer allocation. If it drops, there is still a way out. Thank you, old class. When Cheng Mo left, he saw Su Tue and greeted him with a smile. Su Tue was surprised first. Heizi, how much did you eat when you went back yesterday? I just haven't seen you all night, how do I feel like you've gained a lot of weight? Cheng Mo laughed. I have eaten a total of 9 meals since I came home yesterday. My mother said, I have eaten up half a month's worth of food in my family. In the laughter, there was an indescribable bitterness. I don't want to, but I'm really hungry. Su Tue didn't know how to comfort Cheng Mo for a while. Wait for me to come out. Su Tue patted Cheng Mo's shoulder. After hesitating for a moment, Cheng Mo nodded. As soon as Su Qiu entered his mother's office, he looked around first. You're not hungry too, are you? Old Ben looked out the door with a somewhat melancholic expression. Every year, there are many children like Cheng Mo. Gene liberation drugs can bring extraordinary abilities and developmental potential to children. But the pitfalls of side effects can make many children want to cry without tears for a lifetime. 3 meters. Su Qiu ignored the old class and came to a conclusion. He just stood outside the door, sensing the situation inside the door through the wall, which is about 3 meters. This is somewhat similar to Su Tui's dream of penetrating vision. But it's not penetrating vision. Because of this kind of seeing, Su Tui can still see even with his eyes closed. Not related to vision. Su tried before entering the door. In the eyes of the old class worried about whether Su Tui was mentally ill, Su Tui sat in front of the old class and took a volunteer form to fill out. Brush and fill it in. Sign, fingerprint, and submit. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. It has all 3 voluntary programs. Did you discuss it with Cheng Mo? Old class, I have checked and found that there are fewer mysterious departments, but not only are there fewer wise minds in the mysterious department, but their abilities are also weak. It seems that they are doing well in research. Most genetic evolution universities in the country are either half dead or in a stagnant state, not to mention professors, not even associate professors. Just like our Jincheng Prefecture University of Genetic Evolution. However, Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution is at the forefront of research in the entire mysterious department, not only in Huaxia, but also in the Huaya region. The entire Blue Star Alliance is at the forefront. As a wise-minded person, if I want to make progress, Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution is the best choice. There is no other option. Speaking of which, Su Tui remembered in Xiaoshua's words again, as long as his mind was not pitted accepting the volunteer application form, the homeroom mother Yuzeping sighed lightly and said, "You are all good children with your own opinions. If you and Cheng Mo were really admitted to the University of Gene Evolution, it would be a good thing. There can also be some support. Then check, accept automatic transfer allocation, right?" Su Tui nodded lightly. "Well, that's it. I wish you all a bright future ahead of time." The air suddenly solidifies. Su Tui and his mother didn't say a word more. Besides, I'm afraid tears will fall. The knocking outside the door dissolved this solidification. Su stood up and bowed deeply to his mother, Yuzeping, before leaving. Outside the door, Su Tui quickly wiped his eyes with his sleeve to avoid making fun of Cheng Mo. Inside the door, the mother of the class, Yuzeping, wiped her cigarette-yellow fingers from the corner of her eyes. The campus was very empty, and Cheng Mo casually found a corner to sit with Su Tui. "Which one did you report?" "Just like you. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution. The wise minds in the mysterious department are said to be very useless. The cutting-edge Huaxia Gene University in the mysterious department may give me some development opportunities," Su Tui added. "I also hope to solve my problem." Cheng Mo's stomach suddenly growled in response, causing his face to turn bitter and even a hint of fear to appear in his eyes. "Are you hungry again?" Cheng Mo smiled bitterly and said, "You know, calves, I don't mind becoming the king of the great stomach. But I don't want to gain 300 pounds, 500 pounds, and then become a mountain. I want to find a girlfriend and have a romantic relationship." "Didn't you tell us before that you had already been in a relationship?" "That was a secret love. I wrote her 3 love letters, but she ignored me." "It's okay, I heard college is a paradise for dating. Have you ever seen a girl like a 500-pound chubby guy who eats 9 meals a day?" Cheng Mo, leaning against Su Tui, suddenly burst into tears. "Calf, yesterday I didn't feel the terror of starting the genetic basis of the stomach. But only after returning home did I realize that I, who had activated the genetic basis of my stomach, couldn't be described as a foodie. It's just a perfect monster. I'm afraid of eating it myself. Do you know that my mom just started making me delicious food? Later on, my mother got tired from doing it. They looked at me eating wildly with fear in their eyes. That night, I gained 5 pounds. My dad said, if it's really not possible, just cut off your stomach, 95% of it. My calves, I'm afraid." A handsome young man who was 1.8 meters tall collapsed on Su Tui's shoulder and started crying. Su Tui hugged Cheng Mo's head and didn't know how to speak. "Comfort this skill tree, Su Tui is still very far from the full point. Heise, don't be afraid. Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution may be able to solve our problems. A blessing in disguise is a blessing in disguise. Maybe you, the king of stomach, will be so amazing in the future. Don't lie to me anymore, how could I lie to you? Look, from modern human anatomy, the stomach is like an engine. At present, you have activated the genetic basis of the stomach, as if equipped with a super high horsepower engine. Fuel consumption is high, but horsepower is high. It's just that we haven't found a way to unleash this high horsepower yet. If we do, you'll just explode. Cheng Mo looked up at Su Tui. Stunted. Su Tui's theory really sounds like that. I have also looked at modern human anatomy, why haven't I seen such a theory? I have time to read a few advanced papers. When it comes to lying, Su Tui is not at all flustered. This statement was actually realized by Su Tui himself after undergoing illusory inner vision last night. It really makes sense. Su Tui and Cheng Mo originally wanted to wait at Tang Ting to see which gene evolution university Tang Ting applied to. After waiting for more than an hour, Su Tui and Cheng Mo finally parted ways. One reason is that it is difficult to choose the direction of the genetic base point for Tang Ting at present. Secondly, it's just that Cheng Mo is hungry. I can't stand being hungry anymore. Still eating 10 packs of snacks. After treating Cheng Mo to a luxurious fast food, Su Tui prepared to take the maglev bus home. Su Tui wanted to go home quickly and meditate before entering a state of illusory inner vision, to see if that grey dot was really bright. However, when Su Tui was waiting for the maglev bus at the bus stop, he suddenly discovered it. Someone may be following him. And there's more than one person tracking him. Students who have not collected recommendations will be followed by someone to track them. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 3 Trackers. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 3 Trackers. Perhaps it was due to the opening of 14 mysterious genetic basis points, or perhaps it was a mistake made last night. Make Su Tui's feeling very sharp now. The maglev bus station is crowded with men and women coming and going. Most people's gaze is fixed on personal communication devices, with young men and ladies wearing headphones. No one will have free time to look at others. Occasionally taking a glance will also quickly move away. But while waiting for the maglev bus, Su Tui noticed that someone was intermittently scrutinizing him. Su Hui thought that he had changed his white shoes and reached a new height today, but a little sister saw that she couldn't move her eyes. But when Su Tui found the source of his gaze, he felt very helpless. It's 2 men. No foot picking. It may be due to being at the maglev station. One of the men saw Su Tui's gaze and quickly turned his head. Su Tui didn't care either. People at the station are the scenery, especially the handsome ones. Do you still not allow others to see it? The maglev bus arrived, but Su Tui took a big step and didn't get on. We need to give way to the elderly and children first, right? Su Tui got on the train in the last wave. But as soon as I got on the car, I noticed that the 2 men who had observed me before also hurriedly squeezed into the car. Later, Su Tui discovered that at every stop, especially before the maglev bus stopped, his gaze fell on him at the same time, as if staring at him, observing whether he could get off. After 5 consecutive stops, the feeling of being stared at became increasingly clear. Su returned and found that at least 3 people were staring at him. As a teenager of the 22nd century, I have read many dramas and followed countless fans, but I have learned some emergency wisdom. Have you never eaten pork and seen a pig run? Su Tui immediately had an idea. First, we need to determine if these 3 people are following him. We still need to ensure our own safety and not disturb these 3 people. I have learned idioms like startle the snake with the grass and jump over the wall with the dog in a hurry. Unable to disturb these 3 people, Su Tuiju should be able to cope with the various skills he has learned from movies and dramas, which he has only practiced in his old class, parents, and classmates. Su Tue only thought of one way to ensure his own safety. Go to crowded places. The advent of the era of genes has led to a surge in individual human power and frequent conflicts, but yin in China has always been good. When passing by the Zioxihum Maglev bus station, Su Tue got off normally. There is a popular milk tea shop here, which is a check-that-in spot for many boys and girls. During the time when taking photos and checking in from various positions, Su Hui took the opportunity to observe. My heart sank. As expected, the three men followed along. Two people came together to smoke, and one just bought a bag of fried chicken and took a bite. Click, how fragrant. It can be confirmed that these three guys are tracking themselves. Su Hui, who was queuing up to buy milk tea, was full of confusion in his mind. He da. How could he hire three skilled tracking experts to serve him? He shouldn't have such great value, right? Even if he has activated 14 genetic basis points, wouldn't he? The legendary Dawn Redemption Trader organization wouldn't have targeted him based on this, would it? The third-year high school students in Jincheng Prefecture are very fierce, and there is a fierce person at Jincheng Third Middle School who has opened 16 genetic bases. There are also two strong individuals who have opened up 15 genetic basis points, and it is said that one is still of the mysterious lineage. Even if the Dawn Redemption Trader organization attacks, we must first serve these few people. The Dawn Redemption Trader organization is a traitor who has betrayed the entire human race. According to the authorities, they colluded with extraterrestrial invaders for a long time and engaged in interest exchanges. The several major defeats of humanity on the extraterrestrial battlefield and the nearly century-long stalemate are said to be related to the Dawn Redemption Trader organization. Especially in recent decades, the Dawn Redemption Trader organization has gradually gained a large amount of cutting-edge technology from extraterrestrial invaders, and its power is rapidly developing and expanding. Even under the suppression of the entire Blue Star Alliance, the activities are still very rampant. The reason why Su Tue can associate with the Dawn Redemption Trader organization is that after the genetic testing season in various countries and regions every year, there will be rampant activities of the Dawn Redemption Trader organization in various parts of the Blue Star world. Genius students were assassinated, and many students were abducted and missing. According to the news, it is the Dawn Redemption Trader organization that is conducting experiments with these students who have just started their genetic foundation. At this time point, there is a high possibility of the Dawn Redemption Trader organization. In addition to nervousness, Su Tue felt a little excited. Is this the life after starting the genetic foundation? No longer so plain as a day. But soon, tension became mainstream. If it were really the Dawn Redemption Trader organization, and if it were abducted, even if it were not sliced and only tested with various drugs, the outcome would probably be very tragic. Su Chio's first thought was to call the police. Leave it to the police uncle to solve this problem. But the idea was quickly rejected. It's not that I don't believe the police uncle, but at this moment, no matter how exaggerated Su Tue's words are, the police department's reaction will not be significant. At most, we can send a police officer to investigate. Can you, a senior high school student, discover members of the Dawn Redemption Trader action? Is it possible? Blow it. The Dawn Redemption Trader organization sent out troublemakers, each of whom is a professionally trained veteran. In this situation, if one is not good, Su Tue will be killed. At present, Su Tue only has one health. One kill is over. Go home and find your parents. That's absolutely not possible. Isn't that dangerous to take home? Call Ben's mom for help. After thinking for a moment, Su Tue rejected the idea. Ben Mama Yu Zeping is actually a physical education teacher with a male physique and a motherly heart. Perhaps all he can do is report to the police and come over in person. If you do that, a bad one will harm your mother. Take a taxi directly to the police station, although it's a bit more expensive. This idea is also unrealistic. These 3 trackers will never foolishly follow Sue back to the police station, but will actually startle the snake. Even if Sue retreats to the police station and recounts his experiences, but the inspection fails, the police may not be able to provide much protection to Sue retreats. 2/3 of the candidates in the entire Jincheng prefecture are concentrated in the city of Jincheng. They have just completed the genetic test, with over 100,000 students. The police force is so tense. Moreover, even if the police force is not tense, the police station cannot send police forces to protect Su Tui just by saying 1 or 2 words. Suddenly, Su Tui felt a bit hopeless. Through the ability to detect danger in advance, but without any channels or methods to solve the danger. No, we must save ourselves. Suddenly, Su Tui remembered the business card of the female researcher. Ask her if there's a good way. If there's really no other way, I'll go to the police station and sleep for 2 days. Su Qiu opened his personal communicator and dialed Professor An Xiaoxue, a female researcher. The user you dialed is temporarily unable to answer the call. Please try dialing again later. Emma Su Tui is speechless. Can only go to the police station to sleep for 2 days. Suddenly, the personal communicator in the style of a watch on his hand shook and Su Qiu received a message. Reply from Professor An Xiaoxue. I'm in a meeting, what's up? Su retired with great joy. Professor An, I noticed that 3 people were following me and reporting to the police seem to be unable to solve the danger. Do you have any good suggestions? Su Tui couldn't help but hesitate. In the era of genetics, one can only become an associate professor or professor if their own level of gene reinforcement and evolution reaches a certain level. Of course, some researchers who have outstanding research achievements in a certain field, even if their own level of gene reinforcement and evolution is average, can still be recognized as professors without exception. But An Xiaoxue is so young, definitely not unconventional. Are you sure someone is following you? How did you find out? Sure enough, An Xiaoxue, who knew that Su Tui had opened 14 genetic basis points, was skeptical of its authenticity, let alone someone else. Professor An, yesterday when I returned home, I found that my perception had become very sensitive, which led me to make some discoveries. Then I changed the location and found out that they had been following me all the time, which was confirmed. Su Tui did not conceal much. Send me your location, stay in a crowded area, and wait for my message. Okay. Su Tui is not in a hurry. It seems that the fastest he can buy internet-famous milk tea is more than half an hour, and if he politely gives a seat to the beautiful girl, it will be even longer. Su Tui noticed that the pair of guys who had smoked together before, as well as the one who was eating fried chicken, were all lined up not far behind him. Line up together to buy milk tea. In the conference room on the top floor of the Jincheng Prefectural Government Building, a colonel with a beard and a straight military uniform was giving a speech. That's the meaning. During this year's college students' registration period, if anyone wants to give me a break or disobey orders, I, Lu Tianhu, will be the first to settle the accounts with him. At the meeting, it was all about the senior executives who reported to the college students for the Genetic Unified Examination. There are deputy governors of Jincheng Prefecture, Jincheng Education Bureau, Jincheng Public Security Bureau, Jincheng Special Investigation Bureau, and several officers. In addition, An Xiaoxue and another man from Huaxia Jin Military University are also present. As a professor in the Department of Mystery at Huaxia University of Genetic Evolution, my social status is quite high. Moreover, An Xiaoxue's visit to Jincheng Prefecture this time was as the admissions director of Jincheng Prefecture at Huaxia University of Gene Evolution. Colonel Lu, can you interrupt for a moment? An Xiaoxue suddenly spoke. The speech was interrupted, and Colonel Lu Tianhu was very dissatisfied. However, as a professor at Huaxia University of Gene Evolution, which ranks first in China, Lu Tianhu also needs to show a certain degree of respect. Professor An, what's up? Oh, I just wanted to ask Director Zhou Xing next week. And Xiaoxue looked at Director Zhou Sheng of the Jincheng Special Intelligence Agency. Director Zhou, I have a student who asked for help and said he has been tracked. Did you send someone to handle it, or did I personally handle it? And Xiaoxue asked directly. Of course, we will handle it. Joking, asking a professor from Huaxia University of Gene Evolution to rescue a student in Jincheng Prefecture on their own territory, the face of the Jincheng Prefecture Special Intelligence Agency would be so painful. Professor N, your student's name, basic information, and location, Zhou Sheng asked. Su Tue, 18 years old, male, has just started 14 genetic loci and is currently at the Sheila Milk Tea Shop in front of the Xiaoxi Lake Harvest Building, and Xiaoxue said. Okay, I'll check the information first and arrange for someone to handle it immediately. Zhou Sheng casually opened his personal communication device, opened the Special Information Agency's dedicated system, and entered Su Hui's name. There are not many duplicate names for this name. I'll find it soon. However, after finding Su Qiu's information, Zhou Sheng was slightly taken aback and glanced at Colonel Lu Tianhu before smiling at An Xiaoxue. Professor An, don't worry. The tracker discovered by this student was sent by our Special Intelligence Agency. It should have been sent over this morning, Director Zhou Sheng of the Special Intelligence Agency said. And Xiaoxue frowned slightly and said, a wise student, you actually sent 3 special agents to protect him. What are you planning to do? 3 places. Zhou Sheng's gaze changed and he said, are you sure there are 3 people following him? What's going on? And Xiaoxue immediately realized it was abnormal. How many special agents did you send? Intelligence shows that only 2 were dispatched. Due to the nature of the river crab divine beast, the administrative department has changed its name multiple times, making it difficult to name. End of this chapter.